Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started for this particular event. Yes. Okay. Rolling. Okay. Oh, secretary, lovely. All right. Good. Okay. Oh, too much. Okay, how is this? Better for ears? Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started for this site event, which is called Local Pathways to Ocean-Based Climate Action. My name is Jessie Turner, and I'm the director for an initiative called the International Alliance to Combat Ocean Acidification, and very honored to be here in the Portuguese Pavilion, being able to moderate this discussion, which we'll have for the next 45 minutes or so. And so I think as many of you know, or if some of you don't know, welcome to the ocean community. At COP25, the Blue COP was the first initiation of something called the Ocean and Climate Change Dialogue. And that was mandated to discuss ocean-climate nexus within the UNFCCC. And really to discuss the important role that the ocean can play in addressing climate change, both in mitigation and adaptation action, with an aim to protect its health and its vital functions within the climate system and to preserve coastal communities and livelihoods. And very happily for the ocean community here at the UNFCCC, since that time at COP25, all COPs have recognized the importance of ocean-based climate action, including in the decision of the first global stocktake, of course, which happened last year in Dubai. And this COP29 here in Baku initiates a new round of ocean climate change dialogues. We are going to receive 2 new country co-facilitators of that ocean dialogue. And we're really working to build on the work that has been done, reinforce the dialogue to be the proper forum for discussing best practices and examples of ocean-based climate action here at the UNFCCC. And so this event aims to highlight stepping down from simply the UNFCCC landscape, or stepping away, I shouldn't say down because it's very powerful examples of local action. But what are some local actions that really focus on ocean and nature-based solutions to effectively deliver on these international commitments and goals that parties are making across these different interlinking frameworks like the UNFCCC, like the Global Biodiversity Framework, and like Sustainable Development Goal Agenda 2030 goals, and in particular Goal 14, our oceans goal. And so today, it's really important as we think about these big international commitments, how we establish local examples and case studies, because of course we know that's really where the work is happening on the ground to bring together these different types of policy thematics and these different types of science to action taking in real life. So we're going to share some examples of the establishment of a joint local marine protected area, and hear how ocean science partnerships between different stakeholders can also foster the development of local community action. And we're going to also discuss a little bit about the financial solutions and incentives that we need to pioneer new finance products in the coastal and ocean nature-based solutions sector, I should say. So our first presentation, I'm very happy to introduce Mr. João Melo, who is with the municipality of Cascais. I apologize in advance, Cascais, Portugal, talking about Mr. Melo's work establishing a local cross-border marine protected areas. So João, over to you.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Jess, for this presentation. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the Portuguese government to invite the Cascais municipality to participate in such an important platform, and in particular regarding what Cascais is doing to the ocean and even more. The example of Cascais, it's been quite challenging for personally and for the political stage also. So I will speak about our strategy regarding the sea. First of all, just show where is Portugal, so it's right in the western part of Europe, and Cascais in particular, it's quite in the base of the Tagus River. So 1/3 of the municipality, it's protected area, and so it's a quite challenge also in land, Natura 2000 and UNESCO landscape, but we also have a huge marine area. So we have about 32 kilometers of coastline, a lot of pressure regarding fisheries, but also nautic activities and people. So we have a lot of tourism and eventually conflict. So coastlines, it's becoming a very attractive place for tourists and visitors, and also for locals who enjoy living near the sea and enjoy the sun. So this is a complete challenge for those who work on nature conservation, just myself as a director for the ecological management, but also as a political level. And so why? So I think in this platform, no much explanation about the why. So climate change are coming, and we are at Cascais, the top of the spear regarding ocean issues with the coastline and sand dunes, sediments, and water rise level. That's why we developed this kind of strategy to look at a shortened time. What can we do as the municipality to tackle this issue? So we have these 4 different axes at research and innovation and capacity building, cooperation and growth, biological resources conservation, and local harbour management. I will speak mainly about the 3 first ones. Nevertheless, local harbour management is already ongoing, but I'll focus on the 3 first ones. Obviously, and as already mentioned in the previous panel, data collecting, it's very important. We are very used to collect data at ground level, at the terrestrial level. And it's a huge challenge to collect this information and become big data, so we really understand what's going on in the ocean. So we will introduce these ocean sensors that will collect data on the surface level, subsurface, on the water column also. And quite important, in particular in a very peri-urban area where people like to enjoy the coastline and walk around the coastline, cliff sensors, so we can have this kind of idea what's going on in the pressure of the cliffs. And this is somehow to protect people, but also to anticipate any risk of stability. Very important also, it's when we spoke about marine protected areas and all the stakeholders engaged on these areas, the municipality anticipates this issue and try to create this sea council where more than 40 stakeholders entity get together and share vision, work together in partnership, share knowledge, and bring all this to a common ground. So we all understand, we all are connected to the ocean, and we know dependent on it in different many ways. So this Sea Council is quite important and interesting. It's not easy. It's not easy to get together all these different perspectives, but it's been becoming very important as a stakeholders engagement. Well, and regarding the boots on the ground, in fact, we have in Portugal the first local marine protected area, Vencas. It started to be just a biophysical interest zone, but the municipality started to work in the baseline assessment in terms of biodiversity and raised the issue to become a marine protected area. So it's a very it's a rocky reef area, very difficult to manage regarding its half of the day with water and without the water. And all the species that live here are very specific ones. They live in both worlds, and sometimes people don't give sufficient importance to these. So we are teach to love the whales and the dolphins, and sometimes these small creatures are also very, very important for us. And obviously, when we started to create more data to upgrade this protect marine area, we had to start to work with the community, and we did a lot of assemblies, different stakeholders, different groups, listen everybody. It took a lot of time and to manage some conflicts, but at the end we all understood that linking scientific knowledge with community knowledge is very, very important. We also presented new data about the pressures, mainly because, for instance, we thought that the fishermen were the main negative impact, and we find out that they were not the fishermen, it was the beach user. So this is quite interesting when we go deep on data, and we have a amount of information that gives us some highlights, and it's good when you bring this to, and you assume it's not the fishermen, not always the fishermen are the problem. So we upgrade the protected marine area, so it was shorten and go on and more to the sea. And so we limited it to the coastal area, and we operated, and eventually we'll even operate it even more. So was a very, very important challenge. And obviously afterwards, it's the daily base issues for those who manage protected areas. So we can decide it at the political level, but then we cannot let it as a paper park, I would call it. So we have to be very, very integrated in the management plan, in the budget and human resources, so we can actually tackle all the issues regarding to the pressure of these places. Not everyone agrees with protected areas or understand the fact we are doing so. So besides this, we also need to take the challenge of the new generation. So we provide a lot of schools, a lot of opportunities for students to interact with this reef, and also with the possibility to touch in the organisms in the touch tank kind, so they can really understand when they go to the beach, they like to play around, but sometimes you need to leave those organisms in peace and try to do that in a proper way. Finally, our big challenge for the future, this is a community initiative to become a bigger marine protected area. It's linked with 3 municipalities, Cascais, Sintra and Mafra. And so the idea, it's a new challenge, like I mentioned previously, Avencas, it's a local marine protected area, so it's the municipality who runs this protected area. Here the challenge is also, how can we do this with the responsibility of 3 municipalities? So this will empower local communities, and you also try to facilitate the daily management of this protected marine area. So this is the kind of landscape we have. This is the eastern point of Europe, Cabo de Roca, and expedition for 15 days occur in this area to do the first baseline assessment, try to understand what were the values, natural values, beneath our light of sea. And this is all the kind of information collected, an example of information collected, the number of hours, the divers, how many investigators. So this was a very, very interesting and collective partnership, not only with the very different stakeholders, but also the fisherman community. This is very, very interesting example. Just a short video about it. So this video gives us a taste what's beneath and the challenge that we'll overcome. So finally, what's the next challenge to scale up this conservation project? So the political barrier is already crossed. Now let's do it on the ground, boost the sea economy, because we have to engage with a lot of communities who depend on the fishing activity, and not only, also on tourism, and also maintain this kind of ownership for the community, the sense of places. This is very, very important. Thank you much for your time.
Well, that was a great presentation, Joao, and I have so many questions, and I'm sure people do here, but just a huge commending you on that shared project and really getting that shared jurisdictions to come correct in a multi-municipality MPA will be an exciting conversation, but you definitely have built that community buy-in and multi-stakeholder discussion, so that's fantastic. And I have questions, I'm sure, on how the funding, is looking to the future to sustain this type of work, not just at the in Cascais, but as you continue to expand. So, with that maybe in mind, I'd really like to turn over to our next speaker to say a few words, particularly about local projects on capacity building and ocean conservation, perhaps with a little bit of a lens on the financing side. But that will be Mr. Bruno Pozzi, who is the Deputy Director of Ecosystem Division at UN Environment Program. So, Bruno, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot to Portugal for organizing this session and inviting UNEP to be with you. And I'm very proud and happy and honored to be there this afternoon. I hope my voice will be okay. I've got a little bit of a cold, but please excuse me if sometimes I stop. But thanks a lot, Joao, for setting the scene, because I think after what you said, although I'm going to go a little bit at a more global level, but you brought us really to where my speech was starting, which was with the words of Margaret Mead, where she says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, because indeed, that's the only thing that has ever changed the world." And committed citizens, local action, that's really what you've demonstrated here. And so everything I'm going to say might seem very high level when actually you really demonstrated how we do things on the ground. And I think that's really a great work that you are doing. UNEP, as a global organization, is willing to translate the high-level ambition of the Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Framework and of the UNFCCC into inclusive action on the ground. And we do it by promoting nature-based solutions. And as a principle, we've made a number of studies, we've gathered a number of data that show that NBS, nature-based solution, can reduce 10 gigatons of CO2 annually by 2050 and prevent $534 billion of climate-related losses annually if we start investing in NBS at a larger scale than we currently do. And that's where the call maybe for finance comes from. All throughout the COP there's been a lot of calls for finance, but financing nature and financing what nature brings to fight climate change and to foster biodiversity is really central. Nature can buy us, I often say, the number of years that we need to decarbonize fast. So by investing in nature, you open that window of decarbonization that allows you then to really focus on getting rid of fossil fuel. But you need to do this investment. And to do that, local action is the best place to do that. We've done a number of projects around the world around nature-based solution, biodiversity, climate change. And I decided to speak about two of them that are dear to my heart. One is in Tanzania, and I've been living in Africa for more than 20 years now. And it is about a community project which is led by women and looking at restoring the mangrove in one of the estuaries of Tanzania, actually in the Rufiji Delta. And with time, there's been more and more seawater coming into the delta, and it was having an impact on the salination of water, devastating the farmland, and therefore living was becoming much more difficult for communities. And we proposed to the local communities to restore the mangroves, actually. And by restoring the mangrove and getting communities to really understand the power of mangrove, the natural sea defenses were restored, and helping the local residents to reclaim their livelihoods and to reclaim their resilience. And in the word of Pili, a mother of 5 children in that community, she said that before she could catch around 20 crabs a day, and now she catches 50 to 60, and it's due to the restoration of the mangrove. Of course, that's how she sees it, but the mangrove is also, as you know, a carbon storage tool, and is also, of course, preventing the salination and the devastating effect of the ocean when it comes inland. So this restoration and this nature-based solution is really empowering local communities. Another project which I find very telling is how we support it in Malaysia, the floating villages. There are communities in Malaysia that live on on lagoons and on these floating villages, a lot of the sewage that is produced goes naturally to the sea or to the water area. And we've partnered with local researchers, we've partnered with local communities to introduce sustainable solution, and we developed with their support portable sanitation tanks that are powered with just 15 watts of solar energy, and that can then be safely used to treat the sewage for families living directly on the water. This has improved the quality of the water, therefore the livelihoods, therefore the biodiversity, and you can see that again it's a simple solution, nature-based solution that can provide a lot to communities. Another thing that we are really promoting, and it's really embedded in the Kunming-Montreal biodiversity framework, is the local knowledge of indigenous and local communities. And this knowledge is very often rooted in practical, effective methods based on centuries of observation and of living with nature. And actually, we really try to now reintroduce these anchors of resilience that these local communities have known for a very long time. 80% of the world's biodiversity is within indigenous land, and these communities are more than stewards. They are actually the backbone of sustainable solution in these areas, and their participation, therefore, consent and use of nature-based solutions for climate and for biodiversity are really key. So we are really trying to get these local insights and bring them up now this time to the global policies, so that we have more knowledge gathered and more practices gathered that can be then be science driven as well, and support in restoring our ecosystems. We've done that through the Global Fund for Coral Reefs, for example, which is the first blended public-private finance initiative for reef investment. And we're collaborating with communities in the Caribbean, co-developing with them the restoration projects where local residents, divers, fishermen actively contribute to the restoration of the reef, understand why it is needed, but also bring their own knowledge of how the reef is functioning and therefore really own this restoration. We've done it as well with also on coral reef with targeted research to highlight the critical role that indigenous people and local communities knowledge system play in coral reef protection, and how they can support the management of marine protected areas, which when they are installed in these local communities bring a number of benefits, but only if they are really owned by them. Finally, and I think that's also linked to what João has presented, cities and subnational governments are key to embed these actions at local level, and therefore part of our UN Decade on Restoration of Ecosystems, we aim to restore ecosystems in 1,000 cities by 2030. Many of them are coastals, many of them are located in a small island development state, and we've got a flagship as well together with FAO to restore ecosystems in Vanuatu, Comoros and San Lucia, and we're working there hand in hand again with local communities and indigenous people to integrate the marine and coastal restoration into the development of their own version, if I could say, of sustainable blue economies, and so therefore their own version of the reach to reef approach that strengthens local capacities and drives sustainable nature-based solutions. So in conclusion, while we've got a strong global leadership, a strong global commitment, transforming it into action will only happen if we look at how local communities and how local action drives conservation. And this is really the message that we wanted to pass, I think, collectively. And we wanted to demonstrate you very clearly with what you are doing in Portugal, and myself by giving some of the examples that we have across the world. Thanks.
Well, so sorry. Thank you so much, Bruno, for that overview and those examples in Tanzania and Malaysia. I know we only have about 15 minutes, so I have a some questions, but maybe if anyone has a burning question first, I'll get to the audience. Yes. Okay.
Hello, Lorenzo from Colab. Thank you for both presentations. I had one question for Bruno. Is how do you? But you are not hearing.
Oh.
Bruno. Can you hear me? Fine. Those fantastic projects you presented in your presentation, are they sponsored locally from the financial point of view? Is something that is brought in by UNEP, or how does it work? If you can address it. Thank you.
Those specific projects are usually the ones I've cited are financed by the GEF, so the Global Environment Facility, and UNEP is the implementing partner. So we develop the project together with the communities and the government at the government's request, and then they are implemented through the GEF financing with local communities and local partners. Indeed, yeah.
Yes. Back. Isabella.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So my question is, you've presented various actions that are actually related with climate action. So within the framework and mindset of the UNFCCC, what would be some of the formulations you would suggest for these actions to be incorporated in the process of the convention? Thank you.
If I answer the question, I put the question is it working? No. It's working. I always close it off. But what we're promoting within UNEP and also towards the UN system and the three conventions is that we need more and more synergies between the three. You know, I mean, there's a UNFCCC, the Biodiversity Convention are the most known, and then there is the Desertification Convention, which is going to meet in 2 weeks actually in Riyadh. So we promote synergies, and for us the synergetic element of it is how nature contributes to all elements of the environmental triple planetary crisis. So by investing in nature, not only do you bring benefits in terms of restoring the biodiversity, but also by bringing benefits in terms of carbon storage, carbon sequestration, carbon that stays in the ground because it will not move away. Peatlands are a great example of this. And then you bring one of the binding elements in nature is the water dimension. So ocean in this is extremely powerful because our planet is 80% ocean, something like that. Yeah. So the ocean dimension is is key, and understanding how the ocean is a tool in the climate change element is, as you said, a very new thing. It started only a few years ago, and now what we want, the next step that we would promote is to understand how not only it brings this essential element in terms of the climate change negotiation, but it is also linked to the two other conventions. And so once we get this, I think then it becomes nearly clear that you need to invest into the ocean protection and the ocean restoration to sustain life on Earth. So I address it from a very broad angle, but I hope I answer your question.
Thank you for that. And I have a maybe follow-up question-ish related to some of the science needed for thinking about those ocean mitigation, adaptation, and resilience strategies, both either at something like the UNFCCC or something that's a bit more local. So Joao, you mentioned, after my own heart, talking about the data collection and the sensors that you're collecting, parameters like pH, as the ocean acidification person, PCO2, which is carbon in the water, temperature, salinity, turbidity. You also then showed sort of this adaptive management plan for the MPA and sort of these different interactions with coastal uses and high density perhaps, or different activities across the coastline. How does sort of that data collection over time inform that adaptive management plan? Is that something, what is the time scale that you guys think about? What is the significance of that ongoing data collection when you think about iterative management?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we really are used to collect data at a terrestrial level, so we are not very um, used to collect it on sea level. So we have this kind of G system where we already have did some homework regarding the baseline of the sea and all the bathymetric and all the species. Now we are going to be more specific in terms of data collecting. So we are going to start it in 2025, this Census. And I think it's also a kind of a test. But I think we need more than 5 to 10 years to really try to understand that if changings are coming. So one thing, it's the perception we have, and when we speak with the communities or the fishermen, there are a lot of knowledge, as Bruno mentioned, indigenous knowledge or something like that. But we have to bring those data to scientific data. And so we have this kind of control center with all interface of this data, try to understand. Some of the data are also collected inland and in the border, so we have to analyze in a common ground. And the adaptive management, it's the idea when you have this data, this is always changing. You also have the capacity to interpret it and bring it to the common ground. So read this data, try to understand what it's telling us, and to change our mindset. Sometimes we are have this kind of perception that the threat is this is a threat or the problem or the tendency, and somehow we collect this information with a few years to become robust, and we bring it to the table to the politician. And afterwards we're explaining, and then we have to bring into the community. And this is this kind of discussion. We have to be open-minded if you want to be a good management procedure. So this is the power of information and the power of bringing the scientific data to the common ground and try to engage the local community. That allows us to go forward and go to our own expectation, but obviously the expectation of the community.
And that's a great point about having an assumption of what a trend or a, most harmful impact might be, but seeing the power of, I think a lot of times people undercount what a city or a region can do by way of the data collection. So to really inform that place-based change, to your point, what are the different stressors and how does that change over time, and being faithful to what that information is telling us to then have a pretty localized response, which is, again, a huge role that cities are playing all over the world to sort of be super localized in our understanding of those pressures and then opportunities to fine-tune. That's outside of this big UN framework. I will just say I had the privilege to be able to be in Madeira last month and to see Mare's work. They have a multi-stressor lab in Madeira, and that was like so exciting to sort of see people, cities and provinces are thinking about local stressors or multi-stressors, and that's fantastic. Just a quick following up, you talked about taking that data to the local communities, to different stakeholders, to the politicians, having a conversation about what to do with that and what the different responses might be. It definitely sounds like under the MPA that you guys have been working, you talked about the Municipal Sea Council and all the work that was involved in that. You said patience. Yes, lots of patience and time horizons for that. Are you anticipating that you will recreate something like that for the new I guess it's called the CIMPA? Are you thinking about recreating that kind of council?
Yes, definitely. I think we all learned that process of stakeholders engagement in the earliest stage. It's fundamental. So in the end, you have this kind of shared common vision of the process, and you try to identify all the challenges. So we can look at carbon offset, you can look at nature conservation, but you have also to how the communities identify themselves and get proud of becoming and living in that kind of scenario. So if at the beginning people are kind of, they get, okay, winning protected area, was it good for me or not? So we have to be clear and intelligent enough to explain all the aspects, all the issues, all the impacts in different levels, touristic, fisheries, and also the common sense of just common people who live on the coastline. They have the proud to become or live in this specific place and interact somehow with this. So yeah, it gives us some huge challenge to. So we have this council at the municipal level. We will do it for the 3 municipalities. It will be a huge challenge, but it's worth it. Like it's right on the wall. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. Any other questions before I maybe pose a final thought to both of you? Great. Well, wonderful event and really thrilled to sort of see these local examples. And my question is maybe more in that regard. Here we are at the UNFCCC, big parties, big bureaucratic, slow processes, and it's so refreshing and exciting to sort of recognize how fast and far local municipalities and regions can go, and the power of the subnational, both to have demonstrative actions here, but also to push for increased ambition and to really show what is possible. In so many ways, cities and municipalities and provinces are leading the way. The last question to both of you, any brief calls to action of what you want to be seeing coming out of this UNFCCC, or messages to parties and delegates here based upon the work and the experience and knowledge that you have, and to show what is possible?
Yeah, I have some comments. It's in fact the possibility, and as you mentioned, Cascais didn't wait for a national decision, so we have to tackle the challenge that it's right on our door, like Bruno mentioned, also for the community. So fortunately, Cascais has this capacity to step forward and bring this kind of intelligence, collectively intelligence, call these stakeholders, and show that, yes, local communities can in fact step forward and become leaders on this process. And we really would like to have all the political decisions also take advantage of this, because we know that sometimes we decided at the top level, and it's quite difficult to bringing down and make it a daily basis action. And somehow, if someone step in and shows that this is possible, it could be also a highlight for other communities to come. And could be the example. This is why we are Cascais here showing this an example.
Well, we're grateful for it. And Bruno, call to
On
action.
my side, probably my call would be that indeed everything can happen at local level. And one of the things that we've been demonstrating is the effect of nature-based solution in cities, how the investment that cities, municipalities, local communities can do in regreening their space, their direct space, their daily space, is bringing tremendous benefits. We are in the phase, sadly, of adaptation already. I mean, not many local communities realize this, but climate change, you said it, is a fact. It is there. It's just going to increase, sadly. And what we try to do with these conferences is to make sure that it doesn't increase too fast and too much. but it is a fact that it is there. So by investing in green zones in cities, you can reduce the heat effect that cities bring naturally because of the concrete that's in it. You can bring mental health benefits to the citizen. You bring back biodiversity into the cities, and basically all these multiple benefits allow communities to invest money in something else. And so this is not a cost. This is an investment for future generation, and it's an investment that is extremely fast reimbursed, and then brings value for the communities.
Lovely. Well, with that, just a round of applause for you both. And also, of course, a round of applause for the ministries involved in bringing us together here today at the Portuguese Pavilion. Thank you so much for the leadership of Portugal, both here at the UNFCCC in things like the Ocean Climate Dialogue, and always showing an ocean-forward mindset from the government is so appreciated. So thank you all, and happy Ocean Day here at COP29.